Welcome, everyone. It is so great to have you here. This is a podcast, Rise Above the Burnout. It's dedicated to guiding listeners through the journey of overcoming overwhelm and burnout and the exhaustion of daily stress. Through expert interviews, real stories, and actionable strategies, together I look forward to exploring practical solutions that will work for you so that you can regain control of your day. We'll find ways to get mental clarity, chase away that brain fog, and help you foster a holistic well being for yourself. So, tune in for inspiration, education, and a supportive community as we empower each other to realize our lives and thrive in new ways. Thank you for choosing to spend time with me today. I am so grateful to you and honored that you are here listening to today's episode and that you're getting to know me. I'm Jessica De La Rosa. I'm a certified life coach and wellness practitioner. And as you tune into these episodes, we will navigate through this journey together, growing and learning together. I invite you to share your own stories, your questions, and any feedback in the comments below. For this episode and every episode moving forward, I invite you. I would love to connect with you on social media. You can find me on Instagram. I'm at jessica.delarosa.sheknows, or if you prefer Facebook, I'm at facebook.com/rise above burnout. Or you can join my Facebook group, and that is facebook.com/groups/rise above burnout. Today, I want to talk to you about our mindset around stress. Mindset is how you look at things, how you perceive life is happening around you. Our mindset, it's created around the things that we believe, things that we've been told, the experience that we've had in our lives. All of this shapes our mindset. It shapes how we see the world, and it shapes the reality that we live in. Let me give you some basic and generic examples of what mindset means. There's growth mindset versus fixed mindset. That's one example. People with a growth mindset believe that intelligence and abilities, skills can be developed through discipline, education, effort, and learning. Whereas a fixed mindset, it's the opposite of growth mindset. In this case, people believe that intelligence and abilities are fixed traits, and that people are born with their abilities and that are limited to only those abilities, one that the person only has a certain amount of. Because of these beliefs, people with a growth mindset can find inspiration in the success of others and see it as evidence that they can achieve similar success through effort. Whereas people with a fixed mindset, well, their beliefs make them feel threatened by the success of others. And it just only highlights for them in their mind their own shortcomings. So, a mindset refers to a person's established set of attitudes, beliefs, and assumptions that shape the way we perceive the world and how we respond to certain situations. It's a mental framework that guides our approach in life. It influences the decisions that we make, and it interprets experiences that we're involved in so that we perceive it a certain way. That is, that we see it happening to us, whether others see it or not. Our mindset is our own. Mindsets play a pretty significant role in shaping our behavior, influencing our resilience. That is, persevere or to give up, and it determines how you handle challenges and opportunities. So let's talk about stress. Stress is actually a good thing in several instances. It's not all bad. Stress is actually healthy for you in many cases. While chronic and overwhelming stress can have detrimental effects on physical and mental health, some level of stress can be healthy and even beneficial. This is actually often referred to as eustress, eustress, which is a positive form of stress. Moderate stress can serve as a motivator, driving people to meet challenges and perform at their best. I know for me that I work well under pressure, and often some of my best work comes from the stress and the pressure of meeting a deadline. Stress can enhance focus, alertness, and productivity, and it's been known to lead to better outcomes. Facing new and challenging situations can stimulate learning and personal growth. Stressful experiences can sometimes provide opportunities for us to develop new skills, problem solving abilities, and coping mechanisms. Stress can heighten awareness and it can increase your focus, help us to be more attentive and responsive to our surroundings. This acute awareness can be beneficial in situations that require quick thinking and taking action. Shared stressors can strengthen social bonds when you undergo stresses together. When you're going through challenging experiences together, it can create a sense of solidarity and a mutual support in a community or a group. Now, the duration and the intensity of the stress is the key to note here. While short term manageable stress can have positive effects, chronic and severe stress can lead to a range of health issues, including anxiety, depression, cardiovascular problems, and even a weakened immune system. Today, I want to help us begin developing our skills to rein in our daily stress and the associated feelings with that. By understanding that there are healthy benefits to stress and that there are also dangers that lie in chronic severe stress, we can actually learn ways that will help us maintain this okayness, this balance, if you will, with our daily stress. We'll be able to coexist with it versus live in hate of it all day. It's this feeling or relationship where we let our stressors loom over us all day that we make an enemy of it. And then we wrestle with it all day long, only to go home depleted at the end of our day with no energy left to self-care. I know how it feels when it really feels like there's nothing you can do about the stress that's consuming you in your day to day. And it feels like it's really hopeless, doesn't it? We feel it because we think we're stuck in the situation that's causing us the stress, as if we have no choice or no control. It's feeling like you have to stay at your job because the money is too big to let go of, or because the money is what's keeping my home afloat. So we feel stuck. For some, it's a job or a career that they've invested years in, and so they're used to it. So they excuse it and they push through, even though all they feel is unhappy every day. For some, it's feeling stuck for fear of leaving a well-established career or job where they've experienced success, but they're just tired of it and they're feeling stress every day. And what would everyone think if you walked away from that great success? The good news is we can reshape our mindset around stress and learn to recognize when stress becomes excessive so that we can take proactive steps towards wrangling it and bringing it back down, or even keeping it from overwhelming us to begin with. By reframing our thoughts and exploring small, actionable steps, you can regain a sense of control and work towards managing stress more effectively. You having control of it on your daily stress, no longer letting it hold you hostage throughout the day. So let's dive in. I've got a couple of worksheets for you. Let's help you work towards shifting your mindset and re engineering your relationship with stress. Let's start with understanding what an ideal day to day would look like for you in any particular area of your life. I have an exercise for you. Now, you can access this worksheet at my website, jessicahealthandlifecoach.com/subscribe. And along in there, there's a treasure trove of other resources that it's a library, and I've been building worksheets and opportunities there to help you sort of hone in on some of the things you'd like to improve in life. With this worksheet here, we're going to walk through a couple of things. The first thing I want us to take a look at is this 3-month vision worksheet I've created for us. In this 3-month worksheet, I want you to take some time, 30 to 60 minutes, really. Find a comfortable corner, make the time, carve out this time. It can be in the evening, in the morning before you start your day, on a weekend, maybe. And sit down with your cup of coffee, your cup of tea, your iced coffee, your iced tea, whatever really makes you feel good on the inside when you're drinking it. And sit down and let's work and work through this worksheet. So let's take a look at what it is. If I could wave a magic wand over you, ding, right? If I could wave a magic wand over you and give you a life that is ideal for you in the next 3 months, What would that life look like? And don't think, you got to get specific. Don't think in generalizations here. Okay. This is the first step to learning how to manage stress day to day in a way that works for you. We have to identify what you want. How do you want it? Because it's then when we can see that, when we can identify the things that you want, the way you want it, we can take the steps that are meaningful to you. How would you want your life to be in the following areas? I'm going to list out some different areas that are pertinent in our lives. And I want you to list these areas down. And then not right now, unless you pause this video, you're welcome to do that and work on this. But let's walk through it. And then you could take this time later, um, reserve some quiet space time for you, as we talked about earlier, and answer these questions. So in 3 months, if Jessica waved the magic wand, what would your life be like in your personal life? That is at home and with your family, right? What if I could wave the magic wand, what would that look like for you? What would be ideal, right? And be specific here, right? It's not just everything would be great. Everyone would do what I say. It's not those things, right? It's more than that. It's I'd have more open communication with a spouse, or I'd have a stronger relationship with my child, right? Um, I'd be able to communicate with my kids what I really love most about them, right? And they would listen to me. They would give me the time to tell them that. It could be any of these things. It could be having what about your relationship with someone else that's meaningful to you? What would that look like? Right? So if Jessica could wave the magic wand, all right, what would this look like for you, your personal life? The second one is career, work, or your business. If I could wave the magic wand, what would this look like for you? And everything would be ideal in your career, your business, or your work. What is that? What do you want from that? How do you want to feel in that situation? Right? How would you feel balanced in those areas? Think about that and be specific. Write this down. The next one, number 3, your health and your well-being. What would that look like? What would a great health and well-being look like for you? For me, it's I'm getting Zumba in every day. I'm weightlifting at least 3 times a week, right? I'm eating foods that are fueling me and not sabotaging me, right? I'm satisfied with the way my clothes look on me. These are things that are important to me when it comes to my health and well-being. Um, so what does that look like for you? Okay. What about in your finances? Yeah, I know. We all want to write down to be rich. Got it. To win the lottery. Sure. But let's get a little bit more specific than that. What would it look like for you if you could be living your ideal life around your finances? And if I wave that magic wand and in 3 months, it'll be. What will that look like for you? Write that down, right? Be specific. Take your time answering these questions. What about community and friendships? What would that look like? Community and friendships. What would an ideal life look like there? Now, mind you, every single one of these prompts, some might be some areas of your life here as I'm listing them out might be more important to you than other areas, and that's okay. And as we do some of this work together here today, working towards how to better manage our stress in the day-to-day, again, this is step 1. We're not going to be able to address, we're not going to want to address all of these areas here today all at once, but it's about starting to think about really giving some attention to all these different areas of our life so that we can identify where the work is going to begin for ourselves, right? And this is going to be different for all of you. This is going to be different for every one of us. This is why, again, wellness and self-care is not a one size fits all, and there's not one practical answer for everybody. This is about honing in on what you specifically need, right? Then there's spiritual and learning. Spiritual and learning, your growth. Spiritual and learning and your growth. What would that look like? What would you want to do more of? What would work more? What would make things better for you in this area? Like what kinds of activities or things would you be doing in these areas to experience greatness, goodness, satisfaction, contentment, peace, and able to manage stressors? What would that look like for you? Right. And those are the areas of life. So I'm going to recap this list for you. Okay. So we're going to write down each of these areas of our life, and we're going to jot down some notes, whether you pause this video right now and do this now, or whether you do this at another time that you can reserve an hour to yourself, in a comfy setting, put a little music on in the background if you like music. And you're going to answer the following 6 areas of your life. What would they look like if you could enjoy each of these areas? What would enjoyment look like in each of these areas? It's your personal life, home, and family is number 1. Personal life, home, and family is number 1. Career, work, and business is number 2. Okay. Health and well-being is number 3. What would it look like for you there? Finances is number 4. What would that look like? Community and friendships. What would that look like for you if that was doing well? And lastly, spiritual and learning. Number 6, spiritual and learning. Now, imagine to yourself in these 6 areas as we're creating our ideal situations in each of these areas. Um, what if there were no obstacles? If there were no obstacles in any of these areas, like particularly out of the 6 areas, what are your top 2 or 3 that you really would want to focus on, that you really want things to improve in? What if there were no obstacles there? Would you work on these areas? If there were no obstacles, would you be more inclined to take all the steps towards achieving betterness in these areas? Right? That's my question to you. If there were no obstacles. Now, so the second part of this exercise then is want you to take in each of these 6 areas or the top 3 areas that are most valuable to you. And I want you to write down, what do you see as the obstacles in these areas to achieving this for yourself, to achieving this vision that you have for yourself of what goodness looks like in these areas? What if there were no obstacles? And if there are, list them out next to each area. So, for example, if it's finances, let's say, finances, are there obstacles because there's too much debt and you're finding it hard to manage that debt? Is it that you don't think you have or feel like you have enough income? Right? Or is there something going on that is requiring additional money from you that you don't have, and that's stressing you out? Like, what are these obstacles? We can use another example, health and well-being. What are the things that are keeping you from achieving the health and well-being that you desire? Is it, um, is it because you're just too tired to self-care? Your job takes a lot out of you. Is it you feel lazy and you don't want to get up and do the exercise? You want to be able to exercise every day, but maybe you're just feeling too lazy. Um, what are the things that are keeping you from crossing this chasm of where you are right now and where you really want to be, right? So the next question, after you've had some time to think about that, the next question is, who do you need to be to achieve this? Who is the person that you need to be? For example, for me, health and well-being are really important. That are one of my top three priorities. And in order for me to get to being the version of myself that I want to be, the strong, this physically fit, healthy machine that I dream of being, in my health and fitness. Who do I need to be to achieve this? I need to be someone who is um, wanting to learn more about different physical fitness plans and ways. I have to be interested in learning more about that. I have to be interested in learning more about nutrition. So I have to be somebody who is prioritizing knowledge and information gathering, right? I have to be someone who prioritizes these things. Who do you need to be to get to the point where you can take steps to achieve some of these uh, goals that you have identified here in this exercise earlier on? Who do you need to be? One thing I'm just thinking, one thing that when I went through my own burnout journey, and you can hear my story in a previous video, but Um, when I had to recover, from my burnout, I burned out from my job. I am a corporate healthcare worker, and I've built a career over many, many years. And that took a lot of work. That took a lot of putting myself on the back burner. That took a lot of me not prioritizing myself. And when I burned out and I had to recover, I had to rise above this burnout and recover from this where I was, from this unhealthy state into a healthier state, which I consider myself to be in today. Um, I needed to decide that who I wanted to identify with, or who I wanted to, excuse me, identify as, was somebody who prioritizes and values health and physical well being and mental well being. So, because I made a decision and I made a choice to identify as someone who focuses on physical, mental, and healthy habits. I made this decision, and therefore I then decided that that's who I was going to be. And I started taking steps to doing that for myself, to learning how to self care, learning physical fitness, different ways for physical fitness that would appeal to me, learning nutrition and how to eat well. I had to go from the person that I was, which was hyper focused on career and work and job. And I went into instead more of, I shifted the gear and I went more into someone who prioritized health and wellness. And so, how did I prioritize it? I was learning a lot of information, I was taking in a lot of information. I was speaking about a lot of things I was learning. I was sharing my knowledge with other people who were interested in healthier habits. And I was finding ways to incorporate physical fitness into my day because it became this priority for me. So I shifted my identity on being this worker, work, 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 building the career, to this, nope. I shifted to being more of a specimen for health and well being. So who do you need to be to achieve this? Do you need to be somebody who prioritizes these things? Do you need to be somebody who speaks to these things? Do you need to be somebody who um, is a believer in some of the things you're wanting to prioritize? Who do you need to be? The next question is, if there was one important change that you could make over the next 3 months, what would that change be? What would that change be if there was one thing that you could change so that you can make this ideal version of you happen in the next 3 months? What would that be? What would that be? For some of you, it might be you're balancing, you've been teetering on a decision of whether to pivot in your career or job. Maybe it's time to make that decision and find the way. So maybe it's changing a job. For some of you, now that's not the answer for everybody. For some of you, it is deciding what you're going to eat, if it's a health and wellness priority, right? You're going to decide that one change is going to be maybe more meal prepping. If your priority is in finances area of your life, then maybe the one change you're going to make is you're going to um, open a savings account and you're going to automatically deposit from your paycheck X number of dollars into that account, right? It's what's one thing you think you're going to change in order to get yourself to start moving towards this other version of yourself that you're looking forward to. And then the last thing I want you to think about in this part of the exercise is, what is your focus for the next 3 months? What is your focus for the next 3 months? So, I'll tell you, when 2024 rolled around, when this new year hit, for me, it became the theme for my 2024. I chose a theme for 2024. The focus for my 2024 is to do things differently, meaning that everything that I have been doing previously to 2024, a lot of good stuff, a lot of stuff that has helped me. And then there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been helping me. So I decided to do things differently, because we all know that when you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to get the same result over and over again, right? So I decided that there are some things that I want in my life in the next 3 months. So I identified what those things are, what those areas I want to improve are, and I've decided to focus on doing things differently. So, what is your focus for the next 3 months? What would you like to focus on for the next 3 months? For some of you, it might be um, eating more vegetables for the next 3 months. That's a good one if you're focused on your health and well being. Some of you might say that. Some of you might say, for the next 3 months, I'm going to focus on being more present with some of the people in my life that I really care about and I've not been there for as much. For some of you, it could be in your finances, and you might say, for the next 3 months, I'm going to focus on saving at least $500 each month, so that I have $1,500 at the end of 3 months, right? Or whatever the number is, right? Spiritual and learning, maybe for some of you, the focus, the theme for the next 3 months is um, attending a spiritual group, or, on a weekly basis, maybe joining a spiritual group so that you meet regularly with them. If it's a learning aspect to it, then maybe for the next 3 months, maybe you'll enroll in a freebie course or a affordable course or whatnot, and you'll get in that course for the next 3 months, and you're going to learn from it, right? Learn a new skill, learn a new knowledge base, whatever some of you might say that. Some of you might say, for the next 3 months, I'm going to focus on being more present with some of the people in my life that I really care about and I've not been there for as much. So, to recap the exercise we did here today, we are looking at what our 3-month vision is for, for the next 3 months. What do we want to, who would we want to be? What do we want to achieve? What do we want to see change in our life, right? This is the beginning work to learning how to manage your stress. Right now, if you're watching this, you might be someone who is burned out, overwhelmed, exhausted, not having very good habits right now because the stress is consuming you. When stress consumes us, we have no energy to really manage healthy habits, right? And so we want to reverse that for you, right? And so it starts with identifying, what do I want? Right? What would it look like for me to not feel this way anymore? What would it look like for me to get through my day to day without being consumed by the stress? Because here's the thing, guys, right? We know that the stressors are going to be there every day. Like, we're not working towards getting rid of our stressors per se. Sometimes we can, but not always, right? We can't get rid of all of our stressors, but how can we coexist and live among these stressors without burning ourselves out? That's the name of the game. How do we coexist and live with the stressors every day without burning ourselves out? Right? And that's what we're trying to get a hold on. And it starts with identifying what it is that you want. What does it look like for you to have peace? What does it look like for you to feel content, happy, okay, balanced? This is what we need to identify. And this exercise here today is to help you identify that among the chaos that we're in right now, right? Um, and so now let's look at this worksheet. This worksheet is, how vulnerable are you to stress? And now you might just say on the surface, Jessica, I am vulnerable to stress because I'm stressed, right? But again, we need to get specific, because it's when we get specific and we can identify the things that are holding us back, the things that are no longer serving us, the things that are sabotaging us. When we can identify those things, it's when we can pull the weeds out of our garden to flourish, right? So this is what we're doing. We're identifying the weeds in the garden so we can pull them out. So this next exercise, this is part 2 of this exercise. We did part 1. Now let's do part 2. And now part 2 is, how vulnerable are you to the stress? Let's talk about that. So when you are neglecting yourself, when you are not self-caring, when you are not using effective coping strategies to help you manage your stress day to day, you face a much higher risk of dangerous stress and the dangerous effects of stress, right? And so what this worksheet does, it has sort of really distilled down for your exercise. It has really distilled down some pretty typical and basic activities that we all do in our day to day that I want to draw your attention to. I hope that some of these kind of open your eyes and you realize areas where you really probably need to tweak and do a little bit better at. So let's look at this. So when you look at how vulnerable you are with stress, so again, this worksheet, you can get it from the website. What we're going to do is I'm going to list the following statements to you, and you're going to put on a scale of 1 to 5. I'm going to tell you the item. You can write it down, and I want you to write down next to it if it's a 1, you almost always do this, or if it's a 5, you never do this. And then there's like 3 in between, right? So you've got on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 meaning I almost always do that. 5 means I never do that. 3 can be sometimes I do that, right? So you're going to want to write that down. Next to the statement is, I eat at least 1 hot, balanced meal a day. At least 1 hot, balanced meal a day you eat. Is that number 1? Almost always. Every day you eat 1 hot, balanced meal a day. Then you would put 1 there. If you're like, Jess, I rarely get to eat one hot meal a day. I'm eating on the run. Then you probably want to put maybe a 3 for sometimes or a 5 for never. Which one is it? So I eat at least one hot balanced meal a day. Balanced meaning you've got a protein, a carbohydrate, and a vegetable. Okay. So from a scale of 1 to 5. Then you've got the next statement. I get 7 to 8 hours of sleep at least 4 nights a week. So 4 nights a week, you're getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Does that happen often? Does it happen always? Does it happen sometimes? Does it happen rarely? I rarely get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. So put on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being 1 is always, always. I always get that. 3 being sometimes, and then 5 being I never get that. Never. So answer the question. The next question I have for you is I give and receive affection regularly. I give and receive affection regularly. How often does that happen? Is that a 1 always, 3 sometimes, 5 never happens? Write that number down next to that. I have at least one relative within 50 miles of whom I can rely on, right? I have at least one relative within 50 miles on whom I can rely. Is that, yep, always. I have someone within 50 miles that I can rely on. Or is it 3? Kind of, sort of. I can rely on them sometimes. Or is it a 5? I have no one within 50 miles that I can rely on. Next question. I exercise to the point of perspiration at least twice a week. So do you exercise at least twice a week to the point where you are actually perspiring, right? 1, always. I always work out at least 2 times a week, if not more. 3, some weeks, sometimes, some weeks I'll work out 2 times a week where I sweat. And then 5 is I never work out. Never. Nope. Right? That's a 5. Now, let's see. I take fewer than 5 alcoholic drinks a week. Now, if you don't drink beverages, if you don't drink alcoholic beverages at all, this would be a 1 as well. If you don't drink alcoholic beverages, then put a 1 in this one. I take fewer than 5 alcoholic drinks a week. Sometimes, because sometimes I go over that, that would be a 3. So you might say, Jess, sometimes some weeks are rougher than others. So some weeks I do drink a lot, other weeks I may not. Then that would be a 3. And then you have 5 means I never stick to under 5 alcoholic drinks a week. I drink more than that every week. So if you're drinking more than 5 beverages a week, alcoholic beverages a week, to cope with your stress, then you're going to want to put a 5 on that. Okay. The next one is I am the appropriate weight for my height. I am the appropriate weight for my height. 1, always. I maintain an appropriate weight. So that's 1. 3, it might fluctuate. Sometimes I gain, I lose, I gain, I lose, right? So that might be a 3. And then 5 is never. I'm never the appropriate weight for my height. I'm overweight, right? Then that would be a 5. Okay. Next one is I have an income adequate to meet my basic expenses. I have an income adequate to meet my basic expenses. So 1, almost pretty much always, I feel like I have adequate income to meet all my basic needs. 3, sometimes I have enough to cover all my basic needs. And 5 is I never have enough to cover my basic needs. It's a struggle every day. That's a 5. The next one is I get strength from my religious beliefs. I get strength from my religious beliefs. 1 is pretty much always. Yeah, I always get strength from my religious beliefs. 3, sometimes. Sometimes I turn to my religious beliefs. I'm not consistent with that. That would be about a 3. And then 5 is no, never. I never use I never use religious beliefs to help guide me. No, I don't use that. So that's a 5. Okay. Next one is I regularly attend club or social activities. I regularly attend social activities. 1, always. Yes, I always attend social activities. 2, sometimes, hit or miss. And then 5, never. I never attend social activities, right? The next one is I have a network of friends and acquaintances. I have a network of friends and acquaintances. So you have a network of friends and acquaintances. 1, always. Yes, I always have a network of friends and acquaintances. 3, mediocre, right? 5, I don't have a network of friends or acquaintances, right? 5 is I don't have. Okay, so answer that. We're almost there. This next question, okay, this next question can get a little tricky. I smoke less than half a pack of cigarettes a day. I smoke less than half a pack of cigarettes a day. Okay, so if you are not a smoker, I'm not a smoker, I don't smoke, then the answer here would be 1. Yeah, I would say always. Just about just about always I smoke less than half a pack of cigarettes a day because I don't smoke any cigarettes a day. So put a 1 there. 5 is I never can stick to less than half a pack of cigarettes a day. I go above that. 5 is no, I'm smoking more than that, right? And then next question is, I have 1 or more friends to confide in about personal matters. I have someone or more than just 1 person to confide in about personal matters. 1, always, yes, I do. 5, I don't. 5, I don't ever have anybody I can confide in. Next question, I am in good health. My eyesight, my hearing, my teeth, I am generally good in health. 1, yes, always. 3, I struggle. Sometimes I'm not doing well. Sometimes I'm very healthy. Oftentimes I'm not. That would be a 3. And then 5 is never. I'm never in good health. I'm always sick. Um, I'm always on medicines. I can't get a handle on my health. That's a 5. I am able to speak openly about my feelings when I'm angry or worried. Are you able to speak about your feelings to anyone when you're angry or worried? If you can say, yes, I can always speak about that, then you want to put a number 1 there, right? If you feel like, just sometimes I have someone, sometimes I don't, then that would be about a 3. And then 5 is, no, I never have anybody I can talk to. I don't have anybody I can talk to about that. That would be a 5. The next question is, I have regular conversations with people I live with about domestic problems. I have regular conversations with the people I live with about domestic problems. So that's chores, money, daily living issues. This question is asking you, do you have the capacity at home to talk about the home problems, the home hard stuff, like paying bills, getting the chores done, getting things fixed around the house. Do you feel like in your home, if you live with others, do you feel like those conversations are easy enough to have? Or do you feel like that's a source of battle for you guys? If you feel like that's easy enough for you to have, I can have these conversations with my spouse or my roommates, and there's no fights breaking out because we're pointing out chores or talking about the bills or anything like that, then you want to put a 1 there. If that goes well for you, then you'll put a 1. If you feel like, oh gosh, it always starts World War III in our house when I bring up any issues about our budget or our finances or getting the house clean and the chores. If it starts World War III in your house, then you probably want to put a 5 on there, right? I do something fun at least once a week. I do something fun at least once a week. You do something fun at least once a week. Yes, always. Every week I do at least one thing fun a week. Then you would put a 1. 3, some weeks are better than others. So you might say some weeks I can do something fun during the week, and then other weeks there's nothing fun about my week. And that might be a 3. And then 5 would mean I never do at least one thing fun a week. I don't do that. That's a 5, right? That you don't ever do it. Then there's I am able to organize my time effectively. I am able to organize my time effectively. Are you able to do that? Do you feel like you have a strategy, a method in place that helps you organize your time effectively? If so, and that gets to happen for you regularly, then put a 1. If it's just all out chaos and disorganization for you because you can't get yourself organized, which some people struggle with this, then you want to put a 5, right? And then a 3 is middle of the road, right? 3 is, as we've been saying all along, it's just mid, right? Like sometimes I can get organized, sometimes I struggle, right? So which one is it for you? Put that number down. I drink fewer than 3 cups of coffee a day. I drink less than 3 cups of coffee a day. 1, always. I never go over 3 cups of coffee. Or maybe I just don't drink coffee. Then you would put a 1. 5 is, no, I go over 3 cups of coffee every day. Right? For me, my answer on this one, I'm a coffee drinker. For me, my answer on this one actually might be a 3. Some days I'll go over 3 cups of coffee. Some days I'll stick to less than 3 cups of coffee. So for me, when I answer this question, I would write down a 3. So what is it for you? 5, I always go over 3 cups of coffee. 1, I stay under. And then finally, the last question, you guys, is I take quiet time for myself during the day. Do you carve out, even if it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, doesn't matter. Do you take the opportunity to carve out 30 minutes for yourself? Or excuse me, not 30 minutes. Carve out any minutes for yourself in every day. Peaceful, quiet time just to yourself. 1 is always, I always do that. 5 is I never do that. 3 is sometimes I do that, right? So are you a 1? I always do that. 3, sometimes. 5, never. That is that you take time, quiet time for yourself every single day. Do you do that? For me, my answer to this question would be a 1. I always do that every day, every day. And I typically do it in the morning. I get up before everybody else in my house so that I can have that quiet time to myself. And then sometimes I get to do it in the evenings, depending on what's happening, but I always get to do it in the morning. So my answer to this one would be 1. So once you've gone through all of those, you want to count up all the numbers. I want to show you this a couple different ways. You want to count, you want to add all these numbers up that you wrote. And I want you to come up with a total on all of that. I've added it all up, and I want you to subtract the number 20 from it. So whatever this total is, after you've added all these numbers up, what is the total? Subtract 20. And I'm going to tell you what this number means. When you take that total number and you've subtracted the number 20 from it, that final number that you have, if you fall, if that number, final outcome falls between the number 25 and 55, if your score fell between 25 and 55, then you're seriously vulnerable to stress. What happened here is that if you fell in this category, what happened here is that you answered a lot of these questions that indicated to areas where you're not really self-caring, where you're not really helping yourself. So because of that, you really made yourself quite vulnerable to the stressors of your day to day. So you might be experiencing stress on a day to day in a variety of painful and difficult ways, right? To the point where some of you are probably coming home crying from your jobs. Or if it's your home life that's really stressing you out, that's causing you to cry on the drive into work or whatever, right? You're vulnerable. And so another way you can look at this is look at all the areas where you've answered the number 5. And if you look at all the areas where you've answered the number 5, those are really high risky areas. These are areas you probably really want to pay more attention to help rein that stress back in, right? For example, I have one or more friends to confide in about personal matters. If that's a 5, meaning never, I never have anybody to confide in, that's tough. That will eat away at your emotional health, right? Because if you don't have an outlet to help you talk to people, where you can vent, and get different perspectives, right? That can be hurtful and damaging for you. I'm in good health with my eyesight, hearing, teeth, etc. If I gave myself a 5 there, that means I'm not ever really in good health, right? So you're struggling with your immune system. A lot of people who are dealing with a lot of chronic severe stress are catching every cold that's out there, every virus and bacterial infection that's out there in the world, they're catching it. So they're constantly always sick, right? That's part of dealing with severe stress on a chronic basis. So look at the areas where you've written yourself down as a 5, and you'll want to really pay attention to those areas in your life and find out what's happening. Why am I lacking in that area? Why am I struggling in that area? And maybe we want to work towards taking steps to help us fill that area with a positive so that you can reduce your risk of burnout, right? So now if your score is over 55, if your score is over 55, you are extremely vulnerable to stress, extremely vulnerable to stress. This means you can get sick. Here's the thing that happens with people who, and it's something that happened to me. It happened to me. Um, I ended up with, by true definition, burned out. Burned out means to disengage. It almost looks like a depression. Um, the difference is from clinical depression is that in clinical depression, people are battling with that in their lives where they've had to go on medications for it. And it's been an ongoing thing with them in their lives. In the stress related depression, what happens is you've been dealing with the stress for so long that you're now disengaging. You don't have interest in what's happening in your life. You can hardly care about what's happening, but hardly care in the relationships and your work output, right? It's hard to make decisions anymore because of the lack of caring, right? Um, if you're in a category where you scored a 55 plus on this scale that we just did, then you're at significant risk for burnout. Um, and that's a dangerous place to be. The thing about burnout is when we get to a point of burnout, we're just like ready to run away, throw in the towel. And unfortunately, for many people, suicide ideation sets in, which is really heartbreaking. But this is where some people go when they're overwhelmingly stressed. And the thing about burnout, too, is that it will take you out when you least expect it. It will take you out when you least expect it. Meaning that right now you might say to me, Jessica, I don't have time to self-care. It's so busy in my life, so busy at work, so busy. Well, I get it. But if you keep exposing yourself to chronic, painful stress, things that are emotionally upsetting you, you're going to burn out. And when you burn out, it is at the most inconvenient time in your life. And when people burn out at these inconvenient times, it results in a physical breakdown. So your body gets sick. You could end up in the hospital for something, anywhere from broken bones to internal infections, internal bleeding. I mean, just any of these things. It can lead to, if it's not a physical breakdown, it can be an emotional breakdown, mental breakdown. And it happens to some people. So this is really important, to identify how vulnerable you are to stress, because the good news is you can do things to better your daily stress. Can't get rid of the stressors, but we can learn more about ourselves, how we react to stress, and what to do about it. So with that, it brings me to our last exercise of the day. Again, you can acquire this from the website. Okay, so in this worksheet is about learn about your relationship with stress. Learn about your relationship with stress, right? And so what this one does is it wants to find out from you what triggers your stress response. What things are going to happen? We're going to identify ahead of time what things are specifically triggering my stress. And then we're going to create a stress busting self-care plan. So the first part of this last exercise is number one, we're going to list out all the different things that could be contributing to stress. So on this worksheet, if you go to the website and get the worksheet, you'll see a list of items here and you can add to the list. I just got us started. And so it starts with, for example, sitting in traffic. If you're a commuter to and from your job, this can be a thing for you, a stressor for you. Then you're going to list in the second column, you're going to list here, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is low stress, 10 is the extreme worst stress ever. What does traffic make you feel like, right? And so in this example, I put down an 8. At one point in time, I was a 2-hour commuter to and from work. It was torturous, it was painful, it was traffic, it was horrendous. In fact, I would have put in during that time, I would have put a 10 on this, meaning extreme stress. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 low stress, hardly any stress. 10 is like, oh my gosh, I'm going to just explode with the stress. I can't take it anymore. That would be a 10. So then the next column will ask you, what emotion is it that you're feeling when you're experiencing that stress? What emotion are you feeling when you're experiencing that stress? Well, in the case of the sitting in traffic, I gave it an 8 on the scale. And then I wrote the feeling or emotion that I get when I'm sitting in this traffic and it's stressing me out is anger. And then the last column on this exercise will ask you, um, what is a common physical sign or disease that you feel, disease meaning dis-ease, that you feel during that moment, when you're in that moment? And in the case of the sitting in traffic, I wrote down common physical sign for me is headaches. Headaches show up for me, right? And so then you're going to want to go down this list here. And you want to go down the list here. There's a bunch of items, and then you can add to it too. You can add here as well. And you're going to want to give it a number on the scale. 1 is low stress, 8 is extreme stress. Then you want to identify what emotion comes up for you. And this can be varied. You might find you have a default emotion you fall into for all your stress. So don't feel hesitant if your emotion in the column here is all the same emotion. That's okay. But just list what emotion it is, and then what physical sign comes up for you when you're dealing with that stressor. For some, it might be headache. For some, it might be it could be a stomach ache, nausea, um, pain, whatever that physical sign is. You're going to want to write that down. Now, the good thing about this exercise is that, again, it's bringing to the forefront of your mind the things that are causing you symptoms. Number one, signs and symptoms in your body. You got to listen to that. And it'll help you identify the emotions that keep coming up during these stressors. And then you'll have the scale where you get to identify which areas are stressing you the most, because those are going to be the areas that you're going to want to focus in on when you're learning some stress management techniques and modalities for yourself that work for you. Once you've done that on this list, then the second part on this list is that you create a stress busting self-care plan. So in this case now you have 4 columns again, and in the first column, you're gonna write an activity that makes you feel happy, an activity that makes you feel happy. Um, this can be, gosh, anything, right? It could be yoga, it could be dancing, writing, sitting in the sun, sitting in quiet, listening to music, watching a movie, whatever. Write those activities down. I want you to brainstorm activities that make you happy, activities that make you feel good. What things make you happy, right? In the second column, it says, in the morning, I can, dot, dot, dot. You're going to write down in that second column, in the morning, I can, next to that activity that you identified as something that makes you feel happy. You're going to want to talk about how can you take that activity that you identified as making you happy, and can you plug it into a morning routine? Now, what you're going to find is when you list out all these activities here that make you happy, and then in the morning, I can. So in this example on the worksheet, an activity that makes me feel happy is being in the sunshine. Sunshine is the word I wrote down. I love the sun. So I love going out in the sun. So then in the morning, I can drink my coffee outside. So instead of sitting down inside, I can go out on the patio, the balcony, the front porch, and I can drink my coffee. And um, so you're going to want to list out all these activities, and then what can you do now? Some of these will be blank because sometimes some of the things that make you happy is not something that you can really do in the morning. Um, but that's okay. You don't have to fill in every box here. When it comes to in the morning, I can. The next column is at work, I can. So maybe some of the things that you can't accomplish in the morning, that box has been left blank, but then maybe it's at work I can do something. So maybe in the morning you love the sunshine. Maybe it's not about going outside on the balcony because maybe it's still dark out for you, but maybe it's something you can do at work, right? And so because by the time you're at work, you have the sun is out, it's daylight. So I can step outside for my lunch or break. And I can enjoy the sun then. I can go out for a 15-minute power walk on a break, right? Because I love the sun. I'm gonna do it to get the sun, right? I'm not gonna do it because walking is healthy for me and taking breaks is healthy for. I'm gonna do it because I love the sun. This is the purpose of this exercise. It's to identify the activities that really pull you and tie you towards motivating you to do something. And then the last column on here is in the evening, I can. So once you've identified the activity, you want to select in the morning, at work, in the evening. Some of these might be all filled in. Some of these might have blanks because maybe you don't feel like you can do it at work. Fill this out to the best and fullest that you can. Again, with some empties is fine. But this column, the first column, should be full of all the activities that make you have fun, right? All right. So that is the exercise. So what did you do today? You did a lot of great work today, and it is the first step towards learning how to manage your stress. Again, we cannot get rid of our stressors in our day-to-day. They exist all around us, and they're going to come at us every day. It's about reestablishing, re-engineering your relationship with it and what you can do. So what are some of the actions that you can take to help you navigate through your day, through these stressors in healthier ways that don't end up leaving you drained at the end of the day, right? So today, to recap, what you did was you identified what if you were to conquer all your stress in the next 3 months. What would that life look like? You did that in the first exercise. In the second exercise, you identified what are some things that you are or aren't doing or don't have and need in order to reduce your vulnerability to stress, right? Being vulnerable to stress, meaning how exposed or open you are to the stressors consuming you, hurting you. How vulnerable are you? And if you're doing certain things or you don't have certain things or you're not doing certain things as identified in this list, and then you were able to score that, you were able to identify areas that really need your attention, and you might want to re-engineer those areas of your life. And then in the last part of our exercise today, what you did is you took and created a list of all the things that trigger you throughout the day, how they make you feel, what symptoms come up for you. And then you wrote in a stress busting self-care plan for yourself. So in this plan, you were able to list out a bunch of activities that or things that make you happy, make you feel good, and how you can incorporate them into your day-to-day. And see, this is where stress management and self-care become tailored to you. This is where the one size fits all doesn't happen. It doesn't work. I can tell you journaling, yoga, meditation, mindfulness practices, gratitude, all of those things I can tell you all to go do. Go do them because they're healthy for you. They're evidence-based. Science has proven they all work to help you reduce stress. But are you going to run out and do all of that stuff? No, because it doesn't all suit you as an individual. This is where the work comes in. Identifying and really understanding what's going on around you, really pinpointing down the things that are really hurting you, and then creating a plan for you that works in your busy lifestyle and the things you've got going on that'll help you combat some of that. Okay. Well, I hope that you learned a lot here today and that these tools were helpful for you. Again, you can get this little set of worksheets. I guess I could call it a workbook, right? I can put it together as a workbook. You can get that on the website. And on the website, jessicahealthandlifecoach.com/subscribe. That'll open the door for you into this library of these worksheets and tools that you can download and use for yourself to help you manage through your day. All right. Well, I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, I want you to please hit like and subscribe if you will. This helps so much when you do that. I also invite you to leave your comments, questions, feedback in the comment section below. If you have a particular question you'd like me to answer, or a topic you'd like me to cover in the future in this podcast around stress management, please let me know in the comments below. If there's someone you know in your family or friend group who could benefit from this information, please hit share and share this information with them. I will leave all the handles to my social media in the comments below, as well as the website where you can get. And I look forward to bringing you more in the future. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.